So today I'm going to show you how to take recycled sweater and use it as a background for your needle felting. And we're going to needle felt designs and things onto the sweater, and we're going to cut out little shapes, and you can use this as to make different things like little tapestries or headbands or even barrettes. So we've all done that thing where you've taken a sweater and it accidentally gets in the washing machine and in the dryer, and something happened to it. It shrank. And you're left with a sweater that no longer quite fits anybody that you know. And this one's not too bad, but it has shrank. And what happens in this process is it basically has felted itself. So the action and the agitation and the hot water has made the sweater shrink, and it's no longer wearable. And instead of just throwing these sweaters out, I look at these and go, I want them, because they make really good backgrounds for different things like felted tapestries or just even smaller things. You can use sweater felt, as I kind of call it, as in many different ways. So what you do is you take your sweater and you use it as a background. And so I have some smaller pieces. Kind of the more felted the better, but there's also some that haven't been felted at all. And if you're like me and you use recycled sweaters for lots of things, you go out and actually look for them. The ones that are going to be the best ones are going to be you can even use those really scratchy kind of old-fashioned Shetland ones. They'll say 100% Shetland. That's like this one, where it is, it's pretty coarse and it's very, very thick if it's been felted. And if you find them in the thrift store and they haven't been felted, you can always felt them at home in your washing machine, just washing it on hot water, drying it with heat, and that should do it. You can do it a couple times. If you don't get it as shrunk as much as you want the first time, you can always do it again. So, but more likely you have one of these hanging around and you're like, oh, I'll just use that. So this one is a really nice thin one that was lamb's wool. Lamb's wool is good too. Probably even this one is really, really soft. It's hard to tell, but this one is recycled cashmere. And the cashmere, it's a little bit really fine, but you could still use this as something. You might want to double it up on it. So what we're going to do is use these to make a little design on something. And while this one isn't quite as felted, it still would be a good design. You can almost needle felt on top of different surfaces. People can do it. You can do it on denim, you can do it on corduroy, but definitely wool on wool is the way to go. So when you're selecting your sweaters, you're just going to take whatever one you want to build your little design on. And you can actually start with a bigger piece of sweater felt. I'm going to use my brush as opposed to my foam today, because one of the things about this is that you're going to be using it from one side. You're not going to be turning it over and felting from the other side, because we want a really clean kind of front. So once you make your selection, you can kind of we're going to learn how to do this whole drawing or painting on wool technique. And so select your sweater and we'll get started. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make this little design. This is the beginning of a nice little flower, and I've started another flower right here. And just take a look right here, and I'm using the brush because this brush gives me a nice for some reason it's a little bit easier to poke through than it is on the dense felt. You can do it, but I kind of prefer to do it on this on the little brush. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your little piece of wool, and the nice thing about when you're painting on top of sweaters is that it doesn't use a whole lot of wool to do this. And so I've just wrapped my little poof of wool into a little circle, and then I'm going to stick it in where I want it. Let's start this little flower over here. And then you just kind of like work your way around the edges, kind of working towards the middle. And you can make this as three-dimensional as you would like. You can leave it really poofy, if you just do it around the edges, or you can kind of needle felt it down so that it's more of like kind of flat or flush. And you can see here is that the only thing we're not going to do is we're not going to poke from the back. Like if this was a different piece, or if we were trying to make a different thing, we could poke things from the back and push it through. But that just kind of makes your design a little bit more cloudy or muddy. You get a really nice clean design when you do it like this. So it always kind of helps to have a design in mind, or you can kind of just experiment with whatever it is that you would like to create. So I'm going to get another little petal going over here, kind of fold it up, just like this. And then you just kind of put it where you want it to go. And this is also one of those things that if you make a mistake, you can always kind of lift this up. It might be a little bit tricky to kind of get it up, but you can kind of pull it up, and so it's a little bit forgiving. You can start over. You can always like cover it over too with something else. Now if I was going to go build a little stem on here for my flower, I would take a little bit of the appropriately colored wool. You lay your wool down, and then you needle felt it where you want it to go. Your needle, if you curve the wool and you poke it where you want it to be, it's going to stay there in that area. So you can make you can get kind of nice little backgrounds and sharp edges and different things. On this piece right here, I did lots of different little things. I did little leaves, several little acorns, and then I have little squirrels that are working over here. So you can see the little background that I've done on the squirrel. You can also use kind of like yarn and needle felt like yarn into place. And then I went back over it and I sewed some ribbon around the edge. But this one has little possums on it. So if I was going to go and build another little baby possum, I could start off over here in the one corner and then just needle felt kind of that basic little shape into there. And this one's really flat, so I don't really want it to be three-dimensional at all. And so I'm going to take build the little face over here. And then just using a tiny bit for, let's see, we have a good tail color. Whoops, I've got purple in here somehow. Put the purple back, put it down. But you can see that you can do lots of different things. So this is just basically like drawing. You know, wherever you poke your needle down and you have wool under it, it's going to follow. So if I'm trying to do a little paw right here, I am going to give him like three little fingers. One of the little middle fingers got lost, but just put a little bit more wool on that. And the more little details you start to add to it, like adding little tails, eyes, and just keeping it flat. And you can see at the end, on the back of it, you get this like the fuzzies sticking up, and what I've done is I've taken and trimmed off the fuzzies so that they're not kind of sticking up quite so much. So on this one, I have all these little fuzzies sticking up. You just go back and kind of shave it close to your project. So we're, one of the things is when you're starting it, you kind of select your little area. Like if I was going to build maybe an owl like this, I'm going to pay attention to what my background is, because I didn't put any wool around this. This is the sweater itself. And so I just have to build like the center and the face. So when you're doing that, it's nice if you use contrasting colors so that they show up. So and I'm not going to cut out my owl shape just yet. I'm going to leave my piece big and then cut the shape around it, just in case, you know, I need to kind of go back and do something different. So right now I'm kind of building up my face. One of the things that I really like about the brush, and that brand is like the Clover brand, is that it has this 5-point needle. I've showed people this before. It's got 5. This one comes with a needle guard so that you don't poke yourself by accident. But this is really good. And this is also called the applique style, like of felting. So it's more almost like punch needle embroidery. So you can see how short work that makes of it, and it comes out really flat. And then you can kind of use your single needle and go around in an outline. Like I would totally take white wool and outline this face right here. Just because that's going to make it stand out from what you're doing. If you have any little stray wool pieces, you kind of just pull them out of the way. So this is just one example of some of the things that you can do when you're felting a design onto sweater felt. And when you're done creating your owl, you can take your owl and using some little hardware, like I have a little clip on this owl, you can sew it to the owl, and then you have a really cute little finished item. This is a little hair clip that you could put on. With this piece, I took some recycled sari ribbon and I sewed it around the border. And this is actually going to be a headband. So I have like a little headband thing, and I will sew it to the headband. It's not sewn right now, but I'm going to kind of show you how it would be. So if you sew it to the headband, then you will have a really great little headband. I like this one so much I might have to keep it for myself. So, all right. This one is a really great headband in progress. You could also make little wrist cuffs or bookmarks or little tapestries. When you get really advanced, you can do something like this. All right, enjoy. Thanks for watching GypsyFelting. If you have any questions, please enter them in the comments below. And don't forget to follow along for more adventures in needle felting, subscribe to this channel, and visit my Etsy store for supplies and kits for the projects featured here. Thank you.